TalkShoe Live. This episode is being recorded and streamed live on TalkShoe.com. This episode is also being streamed to the following platforms: YouTube Live. You are joining the online studio. Your line is muted. You can unmute yourself by pressing *6 on your phone. The online studio. Your line is muted. You can unmute yourself by pressing *6 on your phone.
Power to the truth. Welcome to Campfire Chats with Margo. I'm your host, Margo. Power to the truth. I don't know why there's that echo. I've got to get that figured out. Hang on. Can people hear me? This is Margo. And this is Campfire Chats. And if you're over on YouTube and you can hear me and you can see the screen, if you'll type something in the chat room, then we can get started. And hi, Louise. How are you today? Can you hear me okay? I think I had to mute a playback thing and bandwidth came in. Let's see. Yeah, I refreshed my page. Hi, Valhalla. How are you? Can everyone see I've got the show page up? Can you hear me okay? And then we'll get going here. We're still waiting to build an audience a little bit. Okay, thank you, Louise. I'm glad you can hear me. Hi, Valhalla. I've got 8 watching over on YouTube. I've got a couple of people over on TalkShoe. Oh, I've got a lot of people on TalkShoe. Let me see who all I have here. Well, Robin's here. Hi, Robin. How are you today? Oh, I've got people on TalkShoe. Let me see.
Unmuted.
Hi, Robin.
Hi there.
Hi. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining in. I was, I just got the live stream started over on YouTube, and I've got quite a few guests over here on TalkShoe. I see Sandy. I see Angel. Is that you, Earth Angel? It looks like she's just viewing. Sandy left the call. Maybe she'll be back. I've got guest 10 and guest 4. Looks like they're just viewing. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Yeah, Earth Angel, it works. Are you in the studio? Are you did you join the online studio so that you can see the screen share? Okay, you're just listening on TalkShoe. Okay. If you're in the online studio, you'll be able to see the screen share. If you're otherwise, you'll have to look at the YouTube live stream and see the screen share over there, because we're gonna be sharing a lot. Okay. All right, I'll let you figure that out, and we're gonna move forward here. And I have someone on the line from area code 410. Would you like to tell us who you are so that we just kind of know who's here? Area code 410. Hi, this is Margo. Would you like to tell us who you are, or are you just listening? And thanks for joining us. Well, I guess people are not ready to call in yet. There's Valhalla. Hi, Valhalla. Are you just viewing, or I I think when it's kind of light colored, they're not actually in the online studio, but when it,
I
hi
am.
Sandy,
I'm here.
You figured it out. Awesome.
Yep. Yeah, well, I'm using my Gazunga dollar Mac tonight.
Yeah.
And and I forgot to do it on Chrome, so I had to go back out, come back in.
Right.
But I might have to like walk out, walk back in because my husband just made spaghetti.
Oh, that was your message. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm making spaghetti. And we have quite a few just viewing over here on TalkShoe that have not joined the online studio, but they can watch the stream over on YouTube as well. So let me announce the show, and we've got a lot planned for tonight, and we'll get going here. So power to the truth. Welcome to Campfire Chats with Margo. This is Thursday, August the 9th, 2018. Tonight we're discussing abrupt climate change, extreme weather, near-term human extinction, and other topics that are related. If you'd like to call in and talk with us, the number is 605-562-0444, and the call ID is 144865, and then you push the pound sign. And just a few announcements at the beginning with our ground rules here. Trolls will not be tolerated. Please keep political comments to a minimum. No hopium, which is we call hope plus opium, as we realize that any prescriptions or solutions to the climate crisis should have been implemented decades ago. This show is about you, your feelings, and how you're dealing with the great changes that are upon us. We're all in this together, so let's respect and support each other. And I've just got some headlines to go over. Well, I've got one headline to start with, and it's an article from Reuters News, and I'm just going to read that to start with. Let me see, find my browser with my articles. It's called "In Hot Water, How Summer Heat Has Hit Nordic Nuclear Plants," and this was published on August the 1st, and this is out of Oslo. It says, this year's unusually warm summer in the Nordic region has increased seawater temperatures and forced some nuclear reactors to curb power output or shut down altogether, with more expected to follow suit. And this says the summer has been 6 to 10 degrees Celsius above the seasonal average so far, and has depleted the region's hydropower reserves, driving power prices to record highs, boosting energy imports from continental Europe, and driving up consumer energy bills. Nuclear plants in Sweden and Finland are the region's second largest power source after hydropower dams, and have a combined capacity of 11.4 gigawatts. And it goes on and says that the reactors need cold seawater for cooling, but because the sea surface temperature has become so warm that it's hard to cool the plants. So I'll leave a link, below when the show is archived to that article. And this is just more evidence of really how things are moving along faster than we expected. We're going to be talking about some of that today, and Robin and I are going to hit the highlights with Arctic sea ice. We're going to start off with that, and then I've got a document that I want to share with everyone, and we'll go around talking about our level of awareness in the abrupt climate change, but climate disturbance, or whatever you want to call it, and how we're dealing with it, and there are really 5 stages to it, and this document outlines it all. And I think it'll help us reframe what we're doing and what we can do in order to go forward in our lives with these hard times ahead of us. Because the hardest part, first of all, the hardest part is not knowing what we're facing. And then after that, once we come to the realization of what we're facing, how do we deal with it? And, you know, how do we move forward in these last few days and weeks and months to come and have a meaningful life and a meaningful existence? So we're going to be talking about these things tonight as well. So, Robin, let's get going with you. Well, hi, welcome. I chat with you all the time on Facebook, but this is only the second time I've heard your voice live, so it's good to have you here with me tonight. I'm really happy that you could join us.
Thanks, it's my pleasure.
How's the weather in New Zealand? Is it still like really warm?
Oh yes, it is. And I had an interesting conversation with our weather people the other day, and I established just how exactly there's this huge anomaly between what the weather temperatures that they report and what I'm measuring. It turns out that they use models that are based on the average temperatures to tell people what the temperatures are going to be today. So they're often about 3 or 4 degrees out, because what we're seeing is nothing to do with the average.
Right. So they're not actually telling you what the actual temperatures are.
No,
they're just averaging
no,
them out.
and yet when you go on the internet, I mean, you go on and you wonder whether you're going to have a hot day or a cold day, and that's what you get. You get these inaccurate figures, you know.
Right.
I'm just day-to-day basis. It's absolute nonsense. But I mean,
yeah, you get a lot of discrepancies. I found that as well, that it's hard to get good data, and we found that with that Navy website, didn't we? I explained that in my live stream last night, but with the 2 different data sets and their different data modelings, and that was crazy, wasn't it? How we discovered that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'll just mention one thing before we get on to the Navy,
Yeah.
because it's on my mind, and I would love to know what other people think about this. I just saw a video put up by Robert Scribbler, saying from NOAA, and they're saying that July was the 11th hottest temperatures on record, vying with 1998. And then I saw a report that California has seen the record highest. So was the rest of the country freezing?
Is what?
Well, was the rest of the country freezing? If
Like it was just California that had the hottest, right?
11 highest temperatures on record. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, it was hot worldwide, and we saw that in the data and in the daily reports.
How do you get those figures? It's beyond me.
Yeah, it's crazy, and we were basically in this worldwide heat wave, so that was crazy. I've got some shots from today up, just playing. This is, let me go back. Okay, here's our climate reanalyzer sea ice and snow cover from today, and we'll just get this sea ice report out of the way so we can move on to other things. And you can see a diminishment of ice more in the Beaufort Sea. It's falling away on that left arm too. You see that? And it's getting thinner in this area up on the northwest part, and it's also starting to break up. We saw on the NASA satellite view, it's starting to break up within the 80-degree north latitude on the west side, and then on the east side it's well within 80 degrees north latitude. So that's from Climate Analyzer today. This is from the Navy website today. This is the sea ice concentration, and you see it's becoming much less concentrated, and even over the North Pole, where it has been in this area is where it's been the most concentrated, we're seeing it come down more into the yellow regions. And then this is the ice speed and drift, and we can actually see two different directions, and it goes in a counterclockwise motion with the way the water moves, and then the ice moves and breaks up. It comes around from the north and down to the south and then to the west and then back up, and then it splits off about at this midline, and then there's a part that circles around to the south. So I find that interesting, and that can also give us a clue as to where things are breaking up or going to be breaking up. And then this is the GIF, the 30-day with the forecast 7 days out with this sea ice thickness. So we can see within the next week or so, it's really dwindling. It's like, I just don't even have words for it. Do you, Robin?
No.
It's just beyond words to me. It's just, I'm just sitting here watching it. And here's today where we're at. And this is sea surface temperatures. And this is what that article that I just read was talking about, how like here's Norway, and with the sea surface temperatures so warm, especially in this little inlet area, it's too warm to cool down the nuclear reactors. And in here, you can see that it's well over, it's like up into this black zone, and that's 22 degrees Celsius. So how they think they're going to cool down those nuclear reactors is beyond me, and then they shut them down, or it's a whole combo plate. And then of course it's warm all around the sea ice edge, and then the water comes up under the ice and it's warming from underneath. So it's just a mess. It just looks like a mess to me. And then we're back to our show page there. So what do you want to talk about, Robin? Oh, let's go. I'm ready. I need to switch my screen share. Hang on a second. Hang on. And let me get the correct browser window up here. Okay. Let's do our sea ice. Now I'm going to share the screen again. Window and share. Okay, here we are. So we saw the climate reanalyzer. Let's just pop back over here and go over a few things. Now, this is interesting because most of the temperature over the Arctic is above freezing, and especially over the North Pole. And here are our lines where they intersect is where the North Pole is. And then this aqua color is right around freezing, but the rest of it is above freezing. And so, and it's still daylight there. It's still constantly daylight. Now the Earth is starting to tilt away from the sun up there. So the sun is starting to move down in the horizon. I mean, towards the horizon a little bit. And as it keeps moving down, then it's less heat. It's not as hot. So we will see a little more cooling going on there, but it's still quite warm up there. Here's our 2-meter temperature anomaly. Greenland is quite warm, and it's warming up as well, and they're worried about the glaciers melting a lot there. And we're not going to do the whole world. I did that last night. We're just looking up here in the Arctic, and then it's quite warm up here in Siberia and in the Arctic Sea there, where that East Siberia ice shelf is. And then here's our snow and ice cover again. And here's our sea surface temperatures. It's just a different scale, but it's showing the same thing as what we saw in the Navy. And sea surface temperature anomalies. And you can see all these red and browns where it's a lot warmer than it normally should be. And it's really like pouring in from the Atlantic a lot warmer, and that's causing this whole influx of warm. So there's that. Do you have anything to say about that, Robin, before we move to the next one here?
Yeah, just noticing that it's a sort of cold pattern off the coast, the East Siberian ice thing.
Right here, the blue. Yeah, that's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy, and it's so hot right next to it, but then it's got the blue, which is like colder than normal, and the same right here in off of Alaska and Canada, and here too in this Laptev Sea. It doesn't make sense. It just, I don't know. I mean, this is my first year to be studying this stuff, so I can't say, well, last year it looked like this, because I don't know, because I wasn't watching this before this year. So here's the Arctic Sea Ice News and Analysis, National Snow and Ice Data Center. And of course, they're a day behind. And this is extent, and we can see that it's coming away from the coastlines even more from my report yesterday. Here is the concentration, and you can see that the concentration is really low, getting much lower. And here's the graph, still going down. Here's the Antarctic, and here's their concentration. And we've gone over that before. And then we just went over the Navy stuff. And then I like looking at this NASA Worldview. And most of the data is in for today. So I have today's screen up. The only data we're missing is over here on this left side. But that doesn't affect us because that's really on land. And what I find curious here is if we look on this east side of where this ice edge is, I mean, the retreat is phenomenal. I mean, because here's the 80-degree north latitude, here's Svalbard, and the retreat, it just looks like someone just took a knife and just cut it off there, doesn't it? It's crazy. And then it's it comes out here and then back in, but it's also another big interest point is where it's melting right around the coast of Greenland, because this is where some of that old thick ice comes up, where normally it doesn't melt, and we can see that ice is really losing its integrity as well. Do you see that? Did you want to look at some other stuff here, Robin?
I was looking just the other day. I haven't looked since, but I mean, there was evidence, when you zoom in, of tracking quite close to the to the pole. I would say 86 or 87 degrees north.
Yeah, over here on this northwest.
Yeah, somewhere, or or even kind of up there.
Yeah, that's
straight.
about 84 where my pointer is.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to sort of go
Yeah,
in.
here's see, there's some breaking up there. That's some definite, you can definitely see that. That's as close as it'll go. That's at 84. And then it's coming on in. And this whole area, that's yeah, that's losing integrity. And then we're under clouds. We kind of have to discern the clouds and the snow cover, and I mean, you can really get lost in the snow up here if you're not careful. So yeah, and this is that area that is showing, like on the Navy picture, the light purple. It's this area. And I do see that going away. How soon do you think that's going to be going away, this whole area?
Yeah, I've really got no idea. What I'm wondering is just
It
last.
looks like it's going to slice away right around here, right around there. And like all of this area will be gone. But that's they kind of expect quite a bit of ice melt in the summertime, but not like this, I don't think. And did you see my show from last night where I showed, remember the Navy sea routes that they've got planned up here? And we're way ahead above before schedule with this melting on this right side, because in their prediction, you know, they were showing the melting, the minimum melting, like way down here, like, you know, in the top part of Greenland, even still in 2020 and 2023 or 25 or something. So this east side is really taking a beating as far as extent. So.
And did folks see the footage from Torsten from Newark? And it shows, you know, just absolutely open ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I saw that, and I looked up where that was. Newark. It's down here.
yeah.
It's on this southwest side of Greenland, and that's been melted for weeks now.
Yeah.
That's been melted. Yeah. I wasn't surprised when I saw that picture from him. But I was looking today, and you can also see the melting that's taking place on Greenland. And I can see my next report is going to have to be on Greenland and how it's melting faster than expected, and where the glaciers are and things like that. Because this is a huge concern too, because this is all fresh water that's coming into the oceans and is going to be causing sea level rise in short order. So anything else you want to look at here?
Yeah, I think just going in, you know, zooming in on the area, just sort of around the pole to see what it looks like.
Okay, sure. And also here around Greenland, it's where it's really breaking up on this north edge. I was going to show you something else here. Here it is. We can look at, you can see on this Navy, then you can really see here where that Greenland ice is really breaking up and thawing out. So we can use this kind of as a guide. This is how I do it. I use that as a guide, and then I go back over here and look to see how it's breaking up. What were you going to say?
What was the thickness before all of this? You know, like earlier in the season, did that thick ice extend over that far to the eastern side of Greenland, or
When?
you know, where you're seeing all the melting and where it's separating off?
Right here?
Yeah. How thick was that ice before that sort of
Well,
disappeared?
we can look at it like when. What date do you want?
Well, I mean, just going back a month or 2 months or
A
something.
month? Well, we
Yeah.
can let's look at July 1st. You want to do July 1st or so?
Yeah.
Well, this would be for July 9th. That would be a month ago. Here it was a month ago.
Oh, wow. So that's all that thick ice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was read on July 1st, and it's for July 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how much it's changed in a month. And yeah, that was part of that thicker ice that was in this blue. It was about at 2 meters. And then this area was in the red zone. That's up here at like above 4 meters, a little tiny bit apart, like right on the coast. So not only have we lost extent, but we've lost tons of thickness.
Margo?
Yeah.
Margo. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is Valhalla.
Hi,
I'm
Valhalla.
surprised. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing
surprised
great.
they have these websites that we're looking at open to the public, especially the military site.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, well,
aren't they stealing the beans?
no, they say on this site that it's open to the public for research purposes or to just look at, and they provide this as a service to the public. They do say that on the website.
So what happens when the ice drops to like very, very extremely, the MSM cannot ignore it anymore, and they're reporting there is very little ice at the North Pole? Seems to me that they would be like making this, hush hush, on the QT.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just know that this is a public website. It was hard to get to. It was hard to find.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of tucked away. And you can look up here. This is not a normal www dot web address. It's www.7320
Yeah.
dot.
And
I mean, you'd never guess this. You'd never guess this.
There's some sort of message that pops up that says that your IP is not private or something. It kind of scares me off.
Oh, well, what popped up for me was it said that their security certificate was expired. And did you want to go ahead and it was part of my web browser. It blocked it, and it said, there's secure. It's this HTTPS. That's a special kind of certificate. Is it called a security certificate?
Right.
And you have to purchase that and keep that up to date every year. And it's for secure websites for secure information and for passwords and things like that, so that
Margo,
it's all secure. Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, there was one polar satellite. It was a weather satellite or something, and it went down. And so the deniers or minimum types were saying that they deliberately took it down because it was showing too much ice. I don't know if you heard that. That was like 3 weeks ago.
I didn't hear that. I know that on this National Snow and Ice Data Center, they did put up an announcement back in July saying they were going to be testing their satellite, and so some of the data might not be accurate or might be missing. And it was a certain time period, like it was around July 12th or something like that. I did announce that, but I didn't see any. I didn't see
Right.
hardly any missing data, but they
You,
did
you
it.
know, when you zoomed in on the actual pictures, not the models, but the pictures, and you showed the
Mm-hmm.
ice all broken up,
Mm-hmm.
that pretty much freaked me out.
Yeah,
That
this is the
wasn't
real
just,
deal.
yeah, it's the real deal, and a lot of the white that's covering it is clouds.
Right.
So underneath those clouds is broken up ice cubes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like right here, that's clouds. You can see where I'm moving my pointer. That's clouds. And you have to kind of learn to read what's clouds and what's not clouds.
Right.
And one thing that does help me is I'll go over to Climate Reanalyzer and look at precipitation and clouds, and there's not much really showing here, and I don't really know how to do Earth Null School. Everybody says learn how to use that, I can't figure that out. No one's I don't have the patience for it right now. I like the sites I found, and I want to master the sites I found and figure those out as much as possible, because we can get a lot of data from these certain sites right here. And so you can see, like, this wavy stuff is clouds. You can see that. And this wavy stuff is clouds, okay? And so we're looking through a lot of clouds, but when you zoom in, you can see through the clouds, you can see the ice edge is right here. That's the ice edge. You see that?
Yeah.
Where it's
Yeah,
broken,
I see it.
it looks like lace.
Yeah.
And you can see the water, the blue water there.
Yeah, you see more water than you see ice.
Oh, yeah. I wish
Yeah,
we could get one of these satellite views where it could take out the clouds, where it could filter those out, and we could really get a good view. It would flip us out, I'll bet.
I think so.
We'd probably be
and also,
in shock.
yeah, you're a big help with me. I mean, I could probably go to these sites myself, but I would be off-put of being able to analyze it as well as you do, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
It's helped me a lot to understand the situation. And also, you mentioned last night the GLB and the AEC
ARC.
models,
Mm-hmm.
ARC, the ARC model.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wouldn't have even picked up the date.
You wouldn't know.
Where it says 2018-06-14.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even been able to make sense of that. So you're big help.
Well, thank you. Well, I kind of have an eye for detail, and I was a legal secretary for many years and worked in quite a few law offices, and you got to get an eye for detail for that. Plus, being a musician and recording and stuff like that, and
I think that during World War II they used a lot of women for detailed mathematical things, and also looking at spy photographs, reconnaissance, and they had women analysts who could patiently look at the detail. That's my problem, is patience and not having much of it.
Yeah, well, I've gotten a lot of patience in my older age. Oh, by the way, I looked back through the chat.
I think we're about the same age.
I am the elder here. I'm 64, so I'm the elder in my big one. So
well, I'm the next senior down.
Have you taken your early Social Security? Have you taken retirement yet?
No, not yet, but might as well.
I did. I took it as soon as I could get it, because I knew that the time was short, and I couldn't face going back out into that rat race. I was done. I was just so done.
And if you hadn't, we wouldn't have you now doing this for us.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have me doing this.
Thank So thank the universe for that happening.
Well, it was because of health reasons too. I just couldn't go back to work because of my allergies. I can't go, and I can barely go shopping, you know, and then I have to come and take a shower and decontaminate myself. And
Decontaminate, yeah. And,
yeah.
and that brings up a couple things, if you don't mind me bringing it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you mentioned the fires close to you in California, and the
Oh, it's
ash
awful. It's awful.
and the particulates, and mixing that in with global dimming. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the global dimming effect.
Oh yeah, I am.
Okay, so that's a lot of dimming and loss of sunlight that's going on with the particulate and the regular global dimming. And so, but apparently, it's still the temperatures in some areas are extremely high.
Well, we've got a lot of surface level ozone too. I mean, the surface level ozone is off the charts. It's off the charts in Northern California and over here in Northern Nevada. It's literally off the charts, and that's just, and of course the ozone layer is very thin, and it's thinning around the world because of all this sulfur dioxide going up and chewing it up. And so that's also making things feel hotter, and so we're getting more UVC and UVB and stuff like that in, and it's a mess. It's a mess.
It's the biggest chemical experiment the world's ever seen.
It's awful. Hey, Robin, look, do you see this little red line here? I found this earlier, and I wanted to ask you, do you have any idea what that is?
No, not the foggiest clue.
I'm zoomed in as close as I can go, and certain places, they have these little red lines. I don't know if they're markers or bayous, or is that how you say it? I think they do have like markers or some kind, maybe it's a measuring station, or I have no clue what that is.
Yeah, it just makes me remember back in 2012, they still had cameras there, and you could see. I've got a photograph of all the huge melt pools, but I think they've all broken down, so you can't see anything.
Well, this is right at 88.6.
Yeah.
North latitude. So are we ready to move on? Have y'all seen enough of this ice? Are you ready to move on? I mean, I can leave it up. I can leave it up while we're talking if that's what you want to look at. If y'all want to look at that, it doesn't matter to me. It's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna know the Arctic better than Reno. The way you study it.
I know, this is crazy. I do want to show you guys another thing. I'm going to pull up this other website in hot water. Can you see this? I don't know what's coming through. I'm going to hop over. What's coming? Uh-oh. I'm looking at YouTube to see what's hopping over here. Okay, it's my Arctic sea ice. I have no idea what's going on in the chat or who's over there. Sandy's over there. I've got 30 watching over at YouTube. Okay, I'm going to get back to what I'm focused on here. I'm not going to focus on the chat over at YouTube. Robin, I do want to go over this other thing. I'm going to share a different screen now. Hang on a second. And this one. This is your blog post about the disappearance of the old ice in the Arctic, and this is from August the 7th. And where you talk about the discrepancy between the two different models that we discovered, and the reply from Sam Carana. And I'm so happy you were able to get in touch with him and he responded to you. And he said that exactly, Robin, good that you figured this out. I've tried to explain it many times to some other people who keep mixing up images made with different models, which causes all kinds of problems. Anyway, the newer model is better, so the measurements for 2018 are good, but they cannot be easily compared with some of the older measurements, such as for 2012. Cheers, Sam Carana. So that's where, you know, we were going back and forth looking at these different pictures, because this is the one I found in my Arctic Eyes update a few days ago, and it was in that different part of the Navy website. And it's from ARC, and that's a different modeling system, and it shows the ice look much thicker, but of course that's 2012, right? August the 6th of 2012. And then here's August 13th. August 5th of 2013 from the ARC modeling system. Of course, this is all in that old system. And so, you know, we're trying to compare. And when I looked at the blog post, I'm like, well, when you got to 2016, I said, well, that doesn't look like what I've seen for 2016. And I showed you this one, and you're like, wow, that's a lot different. And I'm like, yeah, that's a lot different. And it was for the same date. And so that's when, you know, we were researching back and forth, and I said, the only way this can happen is if it's two different modeling systems, because it looked like different data, doesn't it?
It looks like completely different data. I mean, that's
I know.
I still don't get it. Really. No one's explained.
I don't understand the difference in the modeling sets. I mean, on the Navy website, it explains it, but you know, I'm not a climate scientist, and like I was saying, I think only someone who's working for the Navy and who's archiving in this library of theirs would really understand these data sets. And so, but Sam Carana said, yes, these are different data sets. And so you can't compare. You have to use one data set or the other. You can't compare and get the accurate readings if you're going to use different data sets. So that's so I'm going to stick with the GLB, which is the modern data set. That's the one that the Navy is using, that they're updating all the time, and that shows the sea ice much thinner down through the years even. And see, here's ARC, and we can, and this year that's all that's available to us anyways, the GLB. This is the global forecast system, the global ocean forecast system. But I do want to show this website that you found, and I don't know if this is a website you already knew about.
No, I just Googled it, you know.
How did you find that?
And this is what I found.
Well, I think it's interesting that you found this, because here is this climate deniers website, and they're saying that the Navy is making the sea ice disappear with data, but that's not true. And see what they're using is the two different modeling sets. And so somebody knew, and see, it's from 2017. So somebody knew, somebody had to have known that there were two different modeling sets, because you have to go to two different parts of the website to get these images. So whoever put this together and put this article together absolutely knew that it was two different models. Okay. And then they're trying to say that the Navy is cooking the books and trying to make it look like the sea ice went away and all this stuff. And so this is an example of how there are websites out there trying to confuse people who are not scientists and who don't do research and don't know any bit different and don't know any better, and they trust a skeptic. They trust someone who's skeptical, who's questioning, and on and on and on. But this is typical of how they, I think it's a government funded website to lead people off the track. I don't know what to think about this, and I've seen other videos where people use like comparison. I saw a video recently where this guy was using a comparison with these Navy data sets, and it used like 4 or 5 years of data, and all of them were from the old data set except for the most recent one. It was from the new data set, and they were like, oh, look how much it's melted this year. So that's what I wanted to show everybody, and I'm done with all of that. I'm done with talking about that. I'm done with thinking about that. So there's that. Do you have anything else to say about this, Robin, or anyone else?
Not really. I mean, it still does mystify me. And do they explain why they were changing their models?
No, they didn't explain it, but apparently they had a period of overlap where they were going to the different modeling, different gathering of the data, and where they were doing and analyzing it. And so that's why we have an overlap period for several years. But that would make sense to me, because if you're a government agency like the Navy or the military, you don't want to jump from one different modeling set to another overnight, because you want to work out the bugs. You want to make sure of how all the testing and all the entry and analysis, you want to be sure of that before you make the complete switch over. So I can understand that.
All I can understand say is I really miss Peter Wadham's data that he was collecting for 30 years from a submarine underneath the ice, because there was no doubt about any of that, because it's physical.
I didn't catch all of that. What did you say at the beginning?
Well, I mean, Peter Wadham's, used
to go
every year, and he was measuring the ice thickness, physically, from a submarine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he probably didn't need to use any models. He just had the raw data,
Right.
I sort of miss that.
Yeah, and it's hard to get that anymore. Okay. Does anyone have anything they want to say about this before we move on? I'm going to pop over.
Well,
anyway.
Well, I got one last thing to say about it.
Okay. Okay, Valhalla.
It's just that the deniers sometimes use these sort of things to say that, look, the models are way off, or they're using different models. And they basically use this as one of their weapons against climate change, to say
Right.
that they're lying about it, that they're screwing with the models. You know, they're screwing around with the models.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're messing with the data. And so that to me, I mean, as soon as I hear that, you know, the deniers using that, you know, people believe them. The people believe that the models have been screwed with and toyed with and changed, and believe it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And it's similar to the, I think it was the East Anglica email problem, where the universities and climate scientists in the UK, they sent some emails that had some wording, you know, that was a little like, we changed some of the substance, and they jumped on it and tried to say, here, see, it shows that they are manipulating the data. And it proves that it's all a bunch of bunk.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only comment about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well.
That's what I was trying to point out too. So.
And I'll make one last comment on that too.
Okay.
When it comes to the climate deniers who use these Washington K Street public relations firms and other think tanks, they, as far as litigating the case and lying about it, they are much, in my opinion, better than the scientists and others who gets just run all over by people like that fake Lord Monkton and others who are good at lying. You know, I look at it like the O.J. Simpson case, where he just had really good lawyers who were able to confuse the jury and all that, and get O.J. off when he did it. You know, just using tactics. But anyway, oh well.
Yeah, and it's so hard to know the truth and to sort through, and it's a full-time job. I mean, and I have to sort through everything before I present it, you know, and it's hard, and people send me stuff all the time. It's like, well, I can't really use that because, you know, that doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right. And then I start doing the research, and sure enough, it's not right. So.
Yeah, and it's general talking points that climate change deniers use over and over all the time, such as the scientists are getting paid off, or they're trying to get research grants and things like that, and other things that they use over and over. You see on all kinds of websites. That's just talking points. They're just parroting it, and they're successful at it. People want to believe it, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, and people, it's hard for them to think, and it's hard for them to discern, and it's overwhelming. All of this is overwhelming, especially when you come to the realization about really how awful things are.
The implications are not good.
They're very not good. They're definitely not good. Okay, I'm gonna.
Checking the comments, Margo.
What?
Are you checking the comments?
I'm checking. G7, your comments are not helpful over here. They're really not helpful. So you're being removed. Goodbye. G7.
How do we make comments?
Huh? Who's that?
Did you hear that? My name is Marshall. I'm in Port Townsend. I'm listening.
Hi, Marshall.
How
are you?
Hi.
Oh, are you just called in on the phone?
Yes, I did. But I'm looking at the computer also, and I just turned the computer down. One thing I'd really like to say is Robin has been unbelievable. I've been watching him. He has educated me. I've been glued to him for 5 years, 6 years. I've lost track. And I just want to thank him for his site and all the things he's done to educate me, and of course you, but like he got me going, and I just can't say enough about him, and I hope he's well. I want to try to help him out with his health problems, but anyway, I'll leave it at that and listen, and I guess I just answered my own question. I mean, how do I make a comment?
Anyway, thank you very much for your kind words.
Yeah, thank you, Marshall. And I agree, Robin is just an amazing guy. And your blog and the way you present the truth. And it's all about power to the truth, Robin. Seriously, it's all about that. And I'm so happy to have met you and that we've teamed up together. And it's it makes this quest and this journey a lot more tolerable to have someone like you in my corner and helping. And you're a rock. You're absolutely a rock, and I really appreciate you too.
Well, all we can ever say is that we're speaking the truth as we see it,
Mm-hmm.
None
That's
of us
right.
have a monopoly on the truth.
Right.
We're
right.
all in your corner, Margo.
Thank you.
In fact, I've got on other websites or other YouTube channels, and said, "Hey, you people need to check out Margo."
Well, thank
I
you.
went on Kevin's channel, and tried to tell him. So I think you're great, doing a bang up job. Keep up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to change the picture that I'm working at it. I'm going to change the picture that we're sharing. What do y'all want to look at while we talk about the next stuff? Because we're going to get serious. We're going to go into a serious area now. What do you want to look at? You tell me.
Well, what do you got, Margo?
What have I got? Oh,
what have you got to look at?
You name it, I got it. I can find it. I've got things ready.
Okay, so we're talking about like methane, or
you want to look at methane? I've got methane ready.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
okay.
I'm okay with it.
I've got cams ready. Oh, I've got ozone. People want to see ozone, I think.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
And we can be switching back and forth. Now, let me go back here. And I've got to share my screen again. And here we go. All right. This is surface level ozone in North America. And I'll just get this movie started. I'll get it rolling. And you can look at it. And the next thing we're going to talk about now is, I've got to pull my document up here. Let me find my folder. It's called Climbing the Ladder of Awareness. Has anyone heard of this document, or this idea of climbing the ladder of awareness?
No.
Okay.
Bring it on.
Okay, this was sent to me by one of my YouTube subscribers. what's his name? I get a brain fart when I'm on the spot. I can't remember his YouTube name, but anyway. So, Spreading Rumors. This came from Spreading Rumors, and it actually was presented on the Guy McPherson on his forum. The first place I ever saw it. And I don't know if Guy McPherson or McPherson, however you say it, was the first one to come up with these 5 stages of coming to awareness. But it's really interesting. It's really good. And so this is climbing the ladder of awareness. So I'm just going to read through it, and then we can go around the room and talk about kind of what stage we're at and how we're dealing with things. And if you're stuck in one level or another, like in despair or not knowing what to do and things like that, because this is the next step. The first step is knowing what's going on, and then the next step is what are you going to do? What are you going to do with knowing all of this? Because it's a huge burden. Okay, so climbing the ladder of awareness. When it comes to our understanding of the unfolding global crisis, each of us seems to fit somewhere along a continuum of awareness that can be roughly divided into 5 stages. The first stage is dead asleep. At this stage, there seems to be no fundamental problems, just some shortcomings in human organization, behavior, and morality that can be fixed with the proper attention to rulemaking. People at this stage tend to live their lives happily with occasional outbursts of annoyance around election times or the quarterly corporate earnings seasons. And I think we know that most of the people that we know are in that first category. I think we can all agree that most of the people that we just come into contact with in our daily world are dead asleep. Okay, stage 2 is awareness of one fundamental problem. Whether it's climate change, overpopulation, peak oil, chemical pollution, oceanic overfishing, biodiversity loss, corporatism, economic instability, or socio-political injustice, one problem seems to engage the attention completely. People at this stage tend to become ardent activists for their chosen cause. They tend to be very vocal about their personal issue and blind to any others. And we all know people like that. Stage 3 is awareness of many problems. As people let in more evidence from different domains, the awareness of complexity begins to grow. At this point, a person worries about the prioritization of problems in terms of their immediacy and degree of impact. People at this stage may become reluctant to acknowledge new problems. For example, someone who is committed to fighting for social justice and against climate change may not recognize the problem of resource depletion. They may feel that the problem space is already complex enough, and the addition of any new concerns will only dilute the effort that needs to be focused on solving the highest priority problem. Stage 4 is awareness of the interconnections between the many problems. This is where you're connecting the dots. The realization that a solution in one domain may worsen a problem in another marks the beginning of large-scale system-level thinking. It also marks the transition from thinking of the situation in terms of a set of problems to thinking of it in terms of a predicament. At this point, the possibility that there may not be a solution begins to raise its head. People who arrive at this stage tend to withdraw into tight circles of like-minded individuals in order to trade insights and deepen their understanding of what's going on. These circles are necessarily small, both because personal dialogue is essential for this depth of exploration and because there just aren't very many people who have arrived at this level of understanding. And I think that a lot of people in this, in the discovering of these things, this is kind of the level that they're at in these communities. And this is why we need to come together in dialogue. And then the final stage is step 5, awareness that the predicament encompasses all aspects of life. This includes everything we do, how we do it, our relationships with each other, as well as our treatment of the rest of the biosphere and the physical planet. At this realization, the floodgates open, and no problem is exempt from consideration or acceptance. The very concept of a solution is seen through and cast aside as a waste of effort. For those who arrive at stage 5, there is a real risk that depression will set in. After all, we've learned throughout our lives that our hope for tomorrow lies in our ability to solve problems today. When no amount of human cleverness appears able to solve our predicament, the possibility of hope can vanish like the light of a candle flame, to be replaced by the suffocating darkness of despair. How people cope with despair is, of course, deeply personal, but it seems to me there are 2 general routes that people take to reconcile themselves with the situation. These are not mutually exclusive, and most of us will operate out of some mix of the 2. I identify them here as general tendencies because people seem to be drawn more to one or to the other. I call them the outer path and the inner path. And this, I'm still reading the document, so this I is whoever wrote the document. If one is inclined to choose the outer path, concerns about adaptation and local resilience move into the foreground, as exemplified by the transition network and permaculture movement. To those on the outer path, community building and local sustainability initiatives will have great appeal. Organized party politics seems to be less attractive to people at this stage, however. Perhaps politics is seen as part of the problem, or perhaps it's just seen as a waste of effort when the real action will take place at the local level. If one is disinclined to choose the outer path, either because of temperament or circumstance, the inner path offers its own set of attractions. Choosing the inner path involves reframing the whole thing in terms of consciousness, self-awareness, and/or some form of transcendent perception. For someone on this path, it's seen as an attempt to manifest Gandhi's message, become the change you wish to see in the world, on the most profoundly personal level. This message is similarly expressed in the ancient Hermetic saying, as above so below, or in plain language, in order to heal the world, first begin by healing yourself. However, the inner path does not imply a retreat into religion. Most of the people I've met who have chosen an inner path have as little use for traditional religion as their counterparts on the outer path have for traditional politics. Organized religion is usually seen as part of the predicament rather than a valid response to it. Those who have arrived at this point have no interest in hiding from or easing the painful truth. Rather, they wish to create a coherent personal context for it. Personal spirituality of one sort or another often works for this, but organized religion rarely does. It's worth mentioning that there is also the possibility of a serious personal difficulty at this point. If someone cannot choose an outer path for whatever reason, and is also resistant to the idea of inner growth or spirituality as a response to the crisis of an entire planet, then they are truly in a bind. There are few other doorways out of this depth of despair. If one remains stuck here for an extended period of time, life can begin to seem awfully bleak, and violence against either the world or oneself may begin to seem like a reasonable option. Keep a watchful eye on your own progress, and if you encounter someone else who may be in this state, please offer them a supportive ear. From my observations, each successive stage contains roughly a tenth of the number of people as the one before it. So while perhaps 90% of humanity is in stage 1, who is dead asleep, less than one person in 10,000 will be at stage 5, and none of them are likely to be politicians. The number of those who have chosen the inner path at stage 5 also seems to be an order of magnitude smaller than the number who are on the outer path. I happen to have chosen an inner path as my response to a stage 5 awareness. It works well for me, but navigating this intermittent transition, shift, metamorphosis, call it what you will require all of us, no matter what our chosen paths, to cooperate on making wise decisions in difficult times. And that's the end of the document. So I found that really helpful to explain what we're going through, because really, you know, we're in no man's land. We're in uncharted territory. We're at the end of an age, and at the end of, we're in the 6th mass extinction. And to think of the end of life, the end of human species, human life, the human race, all the species on the planet, maybe all life in creation, you know, it's hard. It's hard to grasp, and it's hard to fathom. And as you're coming up the ladder, you have challenges, and you have, I call it pulling off the belief reality cap, and it opens your consciousness up to more awareness of your world and understanding what's going on. And as this happens, you have to reframe your belief system, and it's hard to do, because you have to let go of all the things that you used to think, and now it's like, okay, now what am I going to think? Now what's going on? And you're invested in a belief system. You're invested in who you are, you know, in your family and your job, and, you know, but we're so much more than that. We're not these physical bodies. We're not our jobs. We're not our relationships. We are consciousness. And how do we get to that? And, you know, how do you get ready to exit? How do you get ready to let go of this existence? And this is where I want to take this group, you know, in these days and weeks and maybe months that we have yet to go. I want us to start focusing on these levels. And yeah, it's good to see the data, and it helps us know where we're at time-wise, but we need to go beyond it, because we're being hypnotized by the outside, and we want to go inwardly. And I know for me, I thought, well, I'm just going to go on an inward path. But then I interviewed Guy McPherson over a year ago, was my first interview with him. That changed my life a whole lot. And then I knew we were screwed at that point, but I didn't know exactly when it was going to end. And, you know, life keeps going. And then this spring, you know, I went into another phase of the total acceptance and, you know, past stage 5 and what am I going to do? And then I discovered CAMS and figured out how to use it. And I thought, well, this information needs to be out there. And I started doing these videos. And so now I've taken this outer path along with the inner path to help people along. And I also offer coaching sessions to help people if they're really stuck, if they're really depressed, if they don't know what to do, if it's hard to just get through the day. You know, sometimes it's just good to just have someone one-on-one to talk to. So, you know, I'm focusing on that now, along with doing these shows and, you know, just kind of keeping people in the loop with what's going on. And this is a journey together. And so that's how I see it. So I'm going to open up the floor now to whatever people want to talk about, where they're at in this stage. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So whoever wants to start. We can talk about where you're at in these stages.
Well, one thing that people don't talk about a lot is fear and being scared.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and they talk about being depressed or
Mm-hmm.
lost or worrying about their kids or whatever, but they don't talk about just the fear of it. You know, the whole experience being scary.
Mm-hmm. And fear is from not knowing what's coming up, you know. And when I was studying hypnosis, and I have training in clinical hypnotherapy, and my specialty when I went through the training was stress management. And when you're talking about fear, it's because of we don't know. It's the fear of the unknown. And if you know what's ahead, then you can kind of prepare for it. And so the mind wants to fill in the gaps. You know, it wants to fill in the gaps. The conscious mind wants answers. It wants to not leave anything left to doubt or chance or the unknown. And so it's going to try and fill in the gaps over and over and over again. And it just, when it can't do it, it has a conundrum. And so it goes into this dichotomy mode, and that's where the fear comes in. But yeah, fear is a big one, Marshall. Was that Marshall or Valhalla that said that?
Wow.
Valhalla. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't recognize the voice. But go ahead.
And an analogy I like to use, it probably won't ring with most people, but like the soldiers landing on Normandy Beach or Iwo Jima.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure that before the landing, everybody was hyped up and anxious and scared. And then once the boat ramp went down, you just went into it, and you were just dealing with it. And really, probably the fear probably went away,
Mm-hmm.
or lessened. You were dealing with what was in front of you, which was people trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
the anxiety before the event is really high. I know it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always like that. Whenever I want to do something scary, I'm
Mm-hmm.
very anxious before it happens. But when it's happening, the fear pretty much goes away.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you're in the moment. Fear comes about because you're thinking about the future. You're not in the moment. And so one of the things, like they talk about it, you know, in Zen meditation and things like that, you just focus on what's inwardly. And one of the best things to do is just focus on your breath, because you've got to breathe. Just bring your attention back to your breath and just notice your breathing in and out, in and out. And that's how I start with all of my clients, you know, to do hypnosis. You know, just take 3 deep breaths and just focus on your breath, in and out, in and out.
Another thing that I do for me personally, you know, when I've spent too much time looking at abrupt climate change videos and documents and articles, I take a break and I go off to something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you might YouTube, watch a movie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just try to get my mind off of it and try to chill out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you can only take so much stress, and there's
Right.
no doubt it can be stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's why a lot of us are here. You know, is that this stress is in us, and we're trying to talk to everybody else and see how everybody else is feeling. And I'm not going to, you know, I'm not afraid to tell you that sometimes I get scared.
Oh, yeah, I know. I agree. It's very scary. And what are you scared of the most?
I'm scared of a collapse of society and people, basically a fire in a madhouse, and my neighbors going crazy and, you know, doing that sort of thing scares me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And without getting, I don't want to get too graphic or anything, but that's probably a little too graphic and probably a little bit too much, because I know that Guy McPherson is, every lecture I've seen him do, people will ask him, well, how is this extinction going to happen? And in my opinion, he really doesn't give the gory details.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't go into it. No.
He just says, you know, starving, you're going to go hungry, you're, you know, lack of water, stuff like that. But he doesn't get into the real. I mean, there's when I think about it, 7.5 billion people to zero. That kind of boggles my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know how long this is going to take. But still, it took us a couple 100,000 years to get to 7.5 billion, and then we're going to go to 7.5 billion to zero in maybe a decade. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's fast, isn't it? So where would you say you are in this? Or would you say you're at the 5? I would say most people in my group are at 5, and then they're just trying to having to figure out how they're going to deal with life, right?
Yes, I'm at 5, but without, you said at the beginning of the show not to go into opium, but I reserve a tiny 0.1% for that black swan.
Yeah.
Which I find, there's no, now I don't hold any hope out for it, but I was surprised they said that the peak oil was going to happen in 2012. Gasoline would be $20 a gallon, and that didn't happen. And the economic collapse, what we didn't count on, like the 2007 economic collapse, was they were going to print up tons of money, and so they could stall it out for quite a while.
Right.
Everybody was looking for a depression in 2007. Well, it didn't happen. I think there might be a tiny 0.1% chance that a very unlikely event could happen. Maybe space aliens, you know, that's unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not anything I'm holding any hope whatsoever out for.
Right.
I would just have to do what I did when I talked about peak oil and the economic collapse to look, you know, people go, well, you were wrong about that.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, they're going to keep things going as long as they can, I think, because I think they know that the end is near, and they're just going to keep it going. That's what I think.
This is a whole different bag of worms compared to the peak oil and the economic collapse.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not just a matter of just printing up more money and stuff, or for the gas, oil, fracking, doing some little tricks to extend and pretend, you know. That maybe they're, like you say, they're going to keep it going. And I thought that, as far as it looks to me, they're just going to have business as usual until it suddenly falls apart.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think.
And I wake up every day thinking, the first thing I do when I wake up is to see if the power's on. if my alarm clock is on.
Yeah.
If the power is off, the first, or when the internet, every time that my internet, I have the internet going down a lot, I think, oh, this is it. And I lose the internet connection. But it's not. So I try to keep that in mind.
Right. Does anyone else want to comment about what stage they're at and how they're dealing with things? Looks like.
Well, I might say something else.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. You're the only one.
It's probably not.
That's fine. You're the one.
Probably not. Well, I'm 62 and never really drank my whole life. Now, it wasn't just abrupt climate change that got me started drinking, but it was like I had some personal problems and so I started drinking about a year ago to kind of numb this up, you know. And it's not a good thing. I mean, that's not anything I'm recommending.
Right.
You know, but I think it's possible that, I shouldn't even say this, but, you know, it's kept me alive.
Yeah. It was a coping mechanism for you, it sounds like.
Yes. That's exactly right, Margo. That's exactly what it was. And I'm probably, you know, right now, if I thought there was a future, I would be going to AA.
Yeah.
but it looks kind of pointless to me to do that. And I'm not drinking all that much. I mean, it takes me a week to go through a bottle.
Right.
But when I get a certain amount of anxiety, you know, I take a, you know, shot.
Right.
Try to chill.
Yeah. Well, for me, I want to be as aware as possible, and you know, I try and stay my body as clean as possible. You know, I want to be aware. I want to know what's going on. I want a clear mind. I want to be able to discern. I do a lot of prayer. I know that article said, you know, organized religion, you know, people go away from that. Some people go deeper into their beliefs because it does give them a support system. And for me, I have a real strong personal relationship and connection with Jesus and with the angelic realm.
Yeah.
And I haven't had that all my life. I mean, that came about in the last 4 years, and it's you know, that's just the way I operate. But I'm not part of organized religion, and I don't go to church, and I don't sit around reading the Bible all the time. But I pray a lot, and I have communication, and I ask, and if I get worried or if I don't know what to do, I just go into prayer and I ask, and I'm guided. And another thing that is helpful is to, like Guy talks about, is realizing that there's very little that we're in control of. There's very little.
Yeah.
And one of the prayers that I say is to ask for things to happen for my highest good and the highest good of everyone involved in the whole situation. And I say that prayer for all the inhabitants. You know, I say that prayer for the earth. I say for everybody, and for the highest good, for the whole situation, whatever it is, because we don't know how things are going to play out. You know, we don't know what the big plan is. We don't know how we know we're in trouble. But we can't plan for every eventuality. But we can, the one thing we do have control over is how we react to things. And, you know, just take a step back when you start feeling that anxiety. Just take a step back and remember to breathe. And if you need to get distracted, go watch a movie. I watch a lot of old TV series. I watch sci-fi, I watch comedy, I watch stupid stuff just to get my mind off of things, because otherwise you can't be thinking about this 24/7 and worrying about if someone's going to come in and rob you and kill you and stuff like that. And if they do, not much you can do about it anyway, because we're going down. We're going down.
And now that you mention that, there is a movie, Australian movie made in like 2015, These Final Hours.
Right, I got that. I tried watching it. Came in this week. I can't watch it, Valhalla. It was too violent for me.
Oh well, it gets better. In the end, he does what you say.
Okay.
I'm not.
Well, I might
Sorry,
fast
but
forward through the beginning then and try it again.
He accepts, the certainty of death and everybody, and he does the right thing, and like he saves that little girl and all that, So you might want to skip the violence. There's other scenes where there's this huge party and people are partying.
Right.
But I think that movie may have a lot of truth to what may happen for real. Even though there are some. Actually, I didn't think it was all that. I'm surprised. I guess there was, a scene where a guy jumped in a car with a knife. But there wasn't that much violence in it. Well, he had to beat up people too.
Yeah, there was quite a bit right at the very beginning. I didn't make it past the beginning, so I'm like,
okay, we'll skip that part. It gets
I will.
better.
Okay. Well, I bought it. I'm going to watch it then, but I'll skip over that part.
That's probably the most violent part of that part. There.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for giving me the heads up on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm here to help. I should, I was like that when I was younger. I was a very altruistic person, and that got beaten out of me, and it became the opposite.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking about, sometimes we get so lost in despair and feeling like, there's no point in doing anything, might as well just lay in bed or whatever.
Yeah.
But we really need to stick with a daily routine. You get up, you brush your teeth, wash your face, make your food, make your bed, do a certain amount of chores, and that'll make you feel better. If you need to get out of the house, go out just to get a different perspective, a different environment. If you have someone close that you can talk to them. But keep a routine is one thing. Another thing is make sure that you're eating as good as you can, and not skipping meals unless you're trying to skip meals. But me, I'm down to eating once a day. That's all I can eat and process and digest anymore. My body has just gone through lots of changes, but that's the exception. But eat healthy, get some kind of exercise every day. I have a little mini trampoline that I jump on and do a workout almost every day, and I notice a difference on the days that I don't do the workout. And tend to personal needs and things, and tend to others around you and your animals and other people, and just keep that routine. And that's a semblance of normalcy, because you need a balance. Because if you're on the internet all the time and hypnotized by all the data, it's like you forget to eat, you forget to wash the dishes, you forget to bathe, and all this stuff. And it's like the next thing you know, you're going down the tubes. And it's a you don't want to go
And we
get there, but it's easy. It's easy to do.
and we
So
need as many sane people as possible.
do what?
I said we need as many sane people as possible
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
guide the people who might be stumbling here and there.
Mhm. Mhm. And if you're depressed, know that there's a reason for that. I mean, there's definitely a reason to be depressed, but move forward and recognize it, acknowledge it, and say, yeah, things are changing, and we're also going to be noticing changes in our bodies because our health is going to be failing as the atmosphere gets more toxic, the air is more toxic. We're going to be reacting, and know that that's going to be part of it too. You're not going to be jumping around and feeling great if you got methane levels so high and ozone levels so high and you can't breathe because of the wildfire smoke. I mean, health will be failing, and that's recognize that too. And there are different kinds of healing, not just physical healing. And I've been wanting to mention this too. Like I'm a holistic life coach. I also got certification in green living coaching. But it was funny when I went through the green living coaching certification. After that, I got really heavy into the abrupt climate change, and I realized, everything was so toxic. It's like you can't get in take anything. Nothing is pure anymore, and since we're you can eat as organic as possible because it's got fewer toxins in it than if you had stuff that wasn't organic, but you're still going to be you can't get away from the poisons, and that's kind of why I got away from doing implant removal and doing a lot of trying to healing with people, because I realized the healing is going to need to take place on an emotional and spiritual level and mental level, because there's no healing of this 3D reality. It's
Right.
broken. It's broken, and we're broken, and we're the walking dead. Really, we're dying at a faster rate, and we're just walking around in these bodies. The bodies are moving around, but they're dying at a very fast rate. And you can recognize that and accept it for what it is and say, yeah, that's part of this cycle, and honor it and thank your body for serving you, and move on and be ready for the next experience.
Yeah, like getting a new car.
Yeah, I'm ready.
joking.
I'd like a new body. I mean, this body's falling apart. I don't talk about it. I don't talk about my physical problems, but I don't feel great most of the time, but I'm here and I'm doing the work.
Yeah, but you're pretty productive putting out these videos.
Well, it's one thing I can do. I focus on what I can do and not what I can't do. And that's
Right.
another thing that you want to do. As if you find an area that you can't do anymore, or your health starts failing, look at things that you can do, because we have many gifts and talents that lie hidden. And all you have to do is take that belief reality cap off and open up and be guided. You can be guided to all kinds of new areas of what you can do.
I wanted to mention something I saw somebody say in the comments, that basically, all the unaware level 1 people out there, that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
the word level. It's
Mm-hmm.
What is the word? Well, that you go around
Dead asleep.
Okay. But I wonder how many look at me and think I'm one of the ones asleep. You know.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, once you'll get to a certain point where you just don't give a shit what people think. It won't matter. It won't matter what anybody thinks about you, because you're solid in who you are and where you are at with things.
Yeah.
It won't matter.
Well, I try not to worry about too much what people think.
Yeah, well, that's good. Hey, I've got column level ozone up here, and I wanted you to look at the screen. Look at that hole that's developed over Greenland. That's new. You see that?
No, I guess the screen is stuck. Let me try that again, or go to your. Yeah, I see it now.
You see it?
Yes.
That's crazy. Yeah, ozone is being chewed up and spit out. This is the good ozone. It's just where I'm seeing holes just popping up everywhere. And look at the South Pole. Look, I mean, it's not good. It's just not good. You see that blue purple coming in?
Yeah, at the very bottom.
That's 200 Dobson units. That's very thin.
Well, Antarctica is probably not a good place to get a suntan.
Well, they're in the dark right now.
Yes, that's true. Forgot about that.
Yeah, there's no daylight down there for another few weeks.
Well, another reason that to be a bad place to get a suntan.
Yeah. Hard to get a suntan down there right now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to go over today. Does anyone else have anything else they want to talk about? I'm gonna hop over to YouTube and see what's going on.
Alrighty.
Sandy scared some ladies today. Hi, Sandy.
Yeah, she's well equipped to do that. I mean, what she says, because she comes out and just says it. You know, I'm quite a bit more reticent to say, hey, we're all doomed. You know,
yeah.
The oil companies are killing us. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very reticent to say that to people. I don't really even talk about this with like my extended family, nieces and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Well, the reason why I don't is because I don't want them to hate me.
Yeah.
You know, and if I go to a family birthday party or something, you know,
yeah.
You know, every time he comes over here, he brings up this terrible news. We don't want to be around them, you know.
Yeah. Valhalla, can you turn down the sound on the YouTube?
Yes.
Because we've got some feedback coming through.
Already.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Oh, it looks like Hoptusaki wants to know the UV reading in the Antarctic. It's not good, Hoptusaki. It's between 200 and 225 Dobson units for most of the Antarctic. It's between 200 and 225 Dobson units for most of the Antarctic. Yeah, I'm still hearing some feedback. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not me. I got everything shut down.
Well, it might be someone else. Let me see.
Well, what did you say? It was 200 Dobson units where?
In the Antarctic. over the South
in the
Pole.
Antarctic.
Mm-hmm. That's 2 millimeters.
Well, okay. On the flip side, where is it good at?
Good? Where is it good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's running right now in the southern hemisphere. You can see the yellow and the orange and the golden colors. That's thicker, so those are good, and red is good. This is the good ozone that we're showing. This is total column level ozone. And so you see the scale down there. It goes from yellow, like the solid yellow is 325, and then it goes up to gold and up into the red. So you can see that, right? That's
Yes.
in the southern hemisphere. Oh my gosh. Look at that purple over that West Antarctic Peninsula. That's really spreading out there. Now it's
Okay. So you
over.
said this was the good. You said this was the good ozone.
Right.
And so
this is the ozone that we want.
That ozone is mostly destroyed by CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons.
Right, and sulfur dioxide and
sulfur dioxide, yes.
Nuclear plants. Nuclear plants. Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned this earlier in the comments. Did you hear, Margo, that Russia sold 2 floating nuclear plants to Bangladesh?
No, that's awful.
That's the craziest thing I ever
Like they
heard.
need that. What's Bangladesh
Right.
going to do with those?
Well, they're wanting to bring Bangladesh into modern, not first, but maybe second world. But it's
aren't they
crazy.
underwater?
They have they constantly have monsoons and flooding, and they put floating nuclear plants there.
Jesus. So Valhalla, have you seen, let's talk movies. Let's talk sci-fi movies. I love talking about sci-fi movies that tell the truth. Have you ever seen The 13th Floor?
I don't think so.
You need to see that. You need to see that. Get it from the library, get it off Netflix or something, but that's a must watch. That's about this guy who goes into this computer simulation and is able to go, he's able to go in and experience in the computer simulation whatever the program is. And anyway, it's really cool. 13th Floor. And
well, I don't want to, because this is so complicated and kind of off topic. I don't want to go into it, but it's the simulation hypothesis proposed by Bostrom, and a lot of people are familiar with it. But it kind of takes what our topic is off topic.
Yeah, that's true.
That we're living in a simulation. And
but but what I also see as with the climate falling apart and everything, it could be a symptom of the simulation falling apart. It can be a symptom of all of that too.
See, we're looking at the ARC and the GLB climate models. Those are computer simulations.
Right,
Maybe
we're
in a computer simulation to see what happens. What Bostrom called ancestor simulation, where they set up a simulation to see what their ancestors did, and put in certain inputs, kind of like the game civilization. Now, this is taken seriously. Elon Musk said that it's 1 in a billion chance that we are not in a simulation. That's what Elon Musk said.
Well, that's what he wants people to think.
Well, that could be. I mean, I think he's a bit crazy, a bit loony.
Yeah, he looks crazy.
I mean, he put a Tesla up in space.
Yeah.
Done a lot of crazy stuff, and he sold a flamethrower you know, for people to buy. And he's talking about this. And the Hyperloop is insane. Thunderfoot's already debunked that. I don't know if you're familiar with Thunderfoot.
No, not really.
Thunderfoot is a working scientist, kind of like Potholer. He's a working scientist, and he does a bunch of different videos on different things. But he debunked. He also debunked Elon Musk's plan to use rockets as terrestrial space or flight. Instead of boarding a plane, you would board a rocket because it would be faster.
Okay.
And that was pretty easy to debunk because a rocket is a bomb. It's got a huge amount of fuel. That's why at these launches, people are miles away, because when these things blow, they blow like a small atomic bomb. And Elon Musk was talking about using his biggest rocket, the BFR, or big fucking rocket.
Yeah.
The biggest rocket. And he said that's never going to go. People are not. He said that boarding a commercial air flight, you have like 1 in 100,000 chance of getting hurt. On a rocket, it's like 1 in 150.
Mm-hmm.
So Elon Musk is proposing a lot of insane ideas.
Yeah.
Including the one of going to Mars.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But on the other hand, he's made a ton of money, so he's not a dumb guy, but maybe a bit loony.
Anyway. Well, we've been at this for almost 2 hours, so I'd like to kind of wrap this up, unless anyone else has anything else to say or anything to cover.
Well, are you going to have another one of these Campfire Chats?
Yeah, I'm planning on having these every 2 weeks. Is this a good day?
So we're going to update. We're going to update on these Arctic maps to see if there's any possibility at all that the ice may increase, which we all kind of doubt. But
I'm going to be doing Arctic sea ice updates every 2 or 3 days through this melt season. I was telling Robin, this is like working in an accountant's office during tax season. I mean, it's just round the clock, trying to keep up with everything. It's just round the clock.
Yeah.
And it's, you don't even get any sleep because you just you're watching the next data coming in. So yeah, I'll be doing the Arctic sea ice updates every 2 to 3 days. I'll be doing at least the climate cast for worldwide was showing all the levels of methane and ozone and all that, like every 5 to 8 days, and then the Campfire Chats every 2 weeks. So I'm just,
okay,
Thursdays,
every 2 weeks. So the next one.
Yeah, it'll be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm. We'll just plan on that. That seems to work for me.
The soap opera of this planet.
Yeah, and then we can get caught up on what's going on, and if people have issues they want to talk about, we can go there.
Yeah.
So the next one will be August 23rd.
August 23rd.
Yeah, because today's the 9th, I think.
Sounds like a plan, Margo.
Yeah. Well, Valhalla, I've so enjoyed speaking with you and hearing your voice. And, I've seen your comments all over the place. And I want to thank everybody who's come today to join us, either calling in or in the chat or live, and I don't know if Robin is still here. Robin, are you still online with us? He's kind of grayed out. He might be offline. So 812, thank you for calling in and joining us today. Thank you, everyone over here on TalkShoe and over on YouTube. I love all you guys, and just stay strong. Time is short. and time to get your spiritual houses in order, whatever that means for you. And
we will be together again.
We will. So we'll be back in 2 weeks for a Campfire Chat. And in the meantime, go in peace. God bless everyone. And goodbye.
Bye.
Thank
bye
you,
bye.
Margo, very much.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you. Thank you, Marshall. Bye bye. Bye, Valhalla. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. It was
Bye.
really good to hear
Oh,
all your
Sandy's
voices.
back.
Bye.
Sandy, thank you,
Oh,
Sandy.
I've been here the whole time, pretty much with everybody in the chat over there in
You were in
YouTube.
both chats.
Yeah, but then that idiot came in on the talk show.
Oh, on TalkShoe? I couldn't
Yeah.
get rid of him, and
I
the
know
only-
you had to close it.
I closed it to registered users
Yeah.
and moderators. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm going to do in the future, because we just don't need crap like that. And what he doesn't know is TalkShoe records all of these chats, and that's in the archives. And if I report him to TalkShoe, they'll have his IP address and everything, and they can track him down.
Oh, that's good. I think
yeah.
that's a good thing, because
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the kind of person that just takes the, sucks the life out of you for nothing. What an idiot.
Comes in and ruins it. And,
That's
that's
ugly
not
thing.
what we're about.
But the chat, of course, on YouTube was fantastic, because we all know each other.
Yeah.
And that's what part of my live stream today was about, knowing each other. And, we're in this together, and we find comfort in all of these names from YouTube. All of each other. We know that there's a real person behind every one of us.
Right. And that's why I'm happy that I'm able to live stream over to YouTube, because it gives people an opportunity to have some camaraderie, and to just, it's like in that article that I read about climbing the ladder, about how we are a closed group. We are a small closed group because this is specialized. This is specialized information, and people can't just come in and understand it. You have to study, you have to be open, you have to be aware, and everybody's at a different place in their journey on this. So we'll just move forward. And I'm so happy that we're all here together on this journey. So power to the truth.
We are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to sign
Value
off
rock.
now. I love everyone. Take care. God bless. Goodbye.